Welcome in to another episode of the Armchair Illini Podcast. My name is Alex, and I'm joined by Robby Nardini here to do another one of our game day previews. This time, Illinois will host the Maryland Terrapins in the State Farm Center on Wednesday to finish out a nice little stretch of their schedule before they play some big boys in their Big Ten schedule. As always, we'll be previewing the game and talking a little bit about the last game where Illinois beat the Minnesota Gophers at home 77-67. Before I introduce Robby, I do want to shout out our sponsors. Hamilton Walkers, our first one. Hamilton Walkers, great sponsor. Appreciate them. They are the best dining experience in all of Champaign-Urbana. And with them, we are doing a $50 gift card giveaway for the entire basketball season. We will be having one, given that Maryland is a home game. It will be going out about Monday afternoon. So be on the lookout for that on all of our social medias. And while you're here, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. We're almost at 600 subs. So really appreciate you guys. This channel is only about a couple months old. So really appreciate you all tuning in. Help us out and subscribe. So Robby, how are you, my man?
Doing good. Unfortunately, a Bears loss that we were just talking about. So unfortunately, the journey's over for the Bears this season. But I'm doing good otherwise.
Yeah, that was pretty unfortunate for all our Bears listeners out there. Great season. I had no expectation of them making the playoffs, but to get this far and have some chances to win, it definitely stings. But I think this team has a very bright young future with Caleb Williams. That throw was just unreal at the end.
Yep.
Um, Robby, Illinois played Minnesota 77-67. They won the game by 10 points. It was very close. They were tied at the half. But they were able to sneak it out a little bit and go on a little bit of a run second half. They beat the zone, and they had a little bit of trouble with that. But what were your thoughts after the home win over Minnesota?
Yeah, another win for the Illini. Took care of business, doing what we need to do. I was getting a little nervous at halftime when I think we were up at halftime or we were tied at halftime. But
Tied,
I
yeah.
was getting a little nervous there. But I think we did what we needed to do. We were the better team and ended up defending home court against Minnesota, and I think the overall bench, just Zvonimir and Mihailo Petrovic, they really were the differences in the game. The zone was definitely bothering us in the first half, and our offense did not look like it has throughout the entire season. We didn't panic though; those guys came in; they were huge assets just to bring some energy in the first half, and Z was just amazing all game long. So shout out to him, and like I said, we got the job done. So I'm happy.
Yeah, really good for Mihailo Petrovic to get some positive minutes. It's been quite some time since we've had that for him, probably since one of his first few games when he ever came back, since he's had a positive impact. Didn't really show up much on the stat sheet, but his ability to get into the paint and just kind of break up the zone a little bit and inject a little bit of ball handling into the lineup was huge. And then, like you said, Zvonimir Ivisic was huge. 18 points, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 steals, 4 offensive rebounds. I know Brad said in his post-game interview, make sure that the media starts to cover his offensive rebounds. 4 offensive rebounds for Zvonimir Ivisic. Robby, if Zeke can come back for another year, I wrote this in an article. If he can come back for a senior season, and I don't know if Tommy will be back. He probably will, given how he's playing this year. I think there are talks about him being on some NBA draft boards. So plus minus Tommy. But I think if Zeke can get one more offseason with Adam Fletcher, watch out because he's got all the tools and it looks like he's starting to really figure it out.
Yeah, he's been amazing, arguably better than Tommy when he comes into the game. People forget that Z was, a really good prospect coming over when he came to Kentucky, had to sit out a semester, and then ended up playing in January. I remember watching his first game at Kentucky, and he ended up going off in that game. He ended up slowing down a little bit later in the season, and then he had some ups and downs last year, but he's really coming into the player that he was projected to be. I would love for him to come back. And yeah, his offensive rebounds and his rebounding has been great overall. As long as he doesn't fall down, I don't know what's going on there. If he's got some slippery shoes or what's going on, but I think I'm about done with the Z travels on rebounds. But he's given it his all for sure. So definitely proud of him, just coming off the bench and being a good player for us.
Yeah, I think the 2 calls that Illinois fans are absolutely sick of are the Zvonimir travels on offensive rebounds and then the Keaton Wagler hook and holds, or any hook and holds in general. Because I think there's been one of each at least the last 3 games. So I think Illinois fans will be glad if they don't see either one of those calls.
Yeah, the hook and holds are annoying. I mean, the NCAA always has an emphasis. One year it was the hot stove foul, one year it was the flopping, and then it just goes away. So, I mean, I don't know why they try to implement new rules or anything like that. And it's not even a challenge either. It's more of an appeal, which is somehow different than a
Yeah.
challenge now. So nobody really knows what's going on. I'll take it if Illinois gets free throws, but yeah, I thought the point of the challenges was to stop going to the monitor so much, and it seems like we're still doing that all the time for these hook and holds.
Yeah, it's super annoying because it's 2 shots, and then that team gets the ball. I think they pan to Brad Underwood, like, shouting at the top of his lungs, "It's a loose ball," and I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
much how I feel about it." But now we head to Illinois, now 15-3. They're 6-1 in their overall Big Ten schedule, so looking very, very good. They host Maryland next at home, State Farm Center, Wednesday night. What are your thoughts heading into Wednesday's game?
Yeah, I think every Illinois fan just under the Underwood era is a little bit scared of Maryland. Just over the past few seasons, not being able to beat them. I remember when I was a manager there, we ended up beating them in MSG. But other than that, I can't. I know we beat them a couple other times, but it doesn't seem like we beat them that much over the past few seasons, and so it's always a worry there. But I know they got a new coach, Buzz Williams, and they're really not good at all this year. Payne has been out, and he's their best player. So I'm definitely expecting Illinois to roll again. I know Minnesota wasn't as easy as we expected it to be, but I think Maryland is even worse than Minnesota. So obviously it'll be good to play another game at home, get another win, go to 7-1 in the Big Ten before Purdue. But hopefully we just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, some historic stats on Illinois versus Maryland. We've always had trouble. I think Maryland's been the bane of Brad Underwood's existence. Very few teams have had Brad Underwood's number. Maybe you can call Micah Shrewsbury's Penn State as the other team that has Brad Underwood's number, but Maryland has won 12 out of the last 15 games versus Illinois. You mentioned that game at MSG. That was the Tevian Jones game, obviously. Big shout out to him. But then the last time that Illinois won at home was Kofi Coburn's year in 2022. It always seems that Illinois has some momentum going, and then Maryland, whether they're good or they're an NIT team, they come in and it's like an early morning game, and they just beat us for some reason, like the Daryl Morcell games,
Yeah.
or some of those random like Mellow Trimble, those kind of teams would just come in and just randomly beat you. So um,
Yeah.
this year, though, Maryland, like you said, not very good. They're 8-10 on the season, 1-6 overall in the Big Ten. They're 0-7 in quad one games, and they've gotten blown out in most of those. They lost by nearly 30 to Michigan. They got absolutely destroyed by Gonzaga. Also have losses to Oregon, who's not very good this year, and also lost to Georgetown, who is absolutely reeling at the moment with Ed Cooley as well. So Maryland, not a very good first year coach. Buzz Williams. It's kind of a weird hire in my
Are you
opinion.
a
He
Buzz
was
hater? I just want to address that.
I do not like Buzz. I do not like Buzz. I think he's a little bit corny. He still wears the suits. He sweats through his armpits. And he
Changes schools
just
every 5 years.
yeah, he changes schools every 5 years and says, "Oh, this is where I wanna be." You thought this was the Texas A&M thing was, okay, he's there, and then he just kinda jumps ship once his seniors leave and then
Yeah.
does the same thing. I mean, obviously, the Willard situation was something, so Maryland needed a coach, but, Buzz Williams in the Big Ten just seems a little bit off. He seems more like an SEC kinda guy or even ACC. I thought him and Virginia Tech was a pretty good
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
Um,
It
but
is a
yeah.
little bit of a weird fit, and they aren't very good. So I'm interested to see how it goes here in the future. Maryland had some stacked teams over those years, though. I remember going to Maryland, and if you've never been to Maryland, when they're good, that place is popping. One of my favorite places. They have a student section that's like straight up like a wall,
Mhm.
which is pretty sweet. But yeah, we ended up losing that game, if you remember, at Maryland with Andres
Oh,
Feliz
yeah.
late game foul, and Anthony Cowan hit like a
It
50
was like
footer
50-footer,
like
right.
insane three. But yeah, they've had some stacked teams to be fair, but there was some games that we should have won as well, specifically recently here and at the State Farm Center. So I went to the game last year on a Thursday night, drove down from Chicago, was very disappointed leaving that game with 5 minutes left in the game. That was
Yeah,
annoying.
yeah. You either had Julian Reese going off or you had Daryl Morcell go like 6 of 8 from 3, just to sink you there. But I think Illinois should take care of business. Maryland's not very good. You mentioned Pharrell Payne, who is the 6'9" forward/center that followed Buzz Williams from Texas A&M. He was averaging about 70 points and 9 rebounds. He hasn't played for a month. I tried to figure out what was going on. I haven't seen anything. He's just been listed out in each of the injury reports. So I hope magically he does not come back versus Illinois because Pharrell Payne's a very good player. But even with Pharrell Payne, I think Illinois should have more than enough to handle. Without Pharrell Payne, they were not very good. They mainly rely on two guards, David Coit, who started his career at NIU. He averages about 13 points a game. And then they have Solomon Washington, I believe, as a forward. He got some flagrant versus Michigan and caused things to go awry there. But Maryland does not have much outside of, basically their starting lineup. So I expect Illinois to take care of business should they continue to be locked in.
Yeah, they don't have much size either. They are actually a good offensive rebounding team for not having much size. I think they're like 247 in average height at KenPom, so we'll obviously have the height advantage there. But they are actually a good offensive rebounding team. So even if they're short, we can't really not have that as a focus here coming in the Maryland game. Payne's definitely a really good player. If you watch Texas A&M last year, you know that they had a really good team with him. And I remember the injury of Payne. I forget exactly what it was. I remember he landed and
He had a
got hurt
fall,
pretty
yeah.
badly. Yeah, I forget exactly, but yeah, he hasn't played in a while, so I'm not expecting him to play. And obviously, I think he's their best player. So they're already not very good with him, and without him, they're definitely struggling a little bit more. I know they just beat Penn State, not really saying much. And you mentioned David Coy. He's a little guard, 5'11". I liked watching him at Kansas a little bit. Playing at Kansas last year, a little short, little guard. He can fill it up a little bit. He can, if you let him get going, he can definitely fill up the stat sheet. But like I said, he is super small. And I think this Maryland team just relies a lot on a 3-point line and doesn't really make it at a high rate. I think they're going to shoot a lot of threes. And Coit can shoot threes, but the rest of them, I think Elijah Saunders is a pretty good shooter too, but the rest of them not really great at shooting. So obviously you can't leave them wide open, but if you noticed against Northwestern and other teams that we played that weren't shooting, it seemed like we were doing a lot short closeouts, playing the percentages, which is obviously what you need to do. And the only other guy I would mention too is Miles Rice. I was a big fan of his at Washington State when they were in the tournament. I think they ended up winning a game, or maybe they blew a lead that year a couple years ago, and then he went to Indiana, and now he's at Maryland. He was a really good player at Washington State, 14 points per game, but he doesn't really play that much on this team, which is a little weird, but I liked his game before.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know Miles Rice was on this team, so it'll be fun to see. I wanted to ask you, being a former student manager, Illinois has a huge, huge, huge game next Saturday, Mackey Arena versus Purdue. It's going to be a top five, depending on where Illinois sits at, but basically top five KenPom matchup, if you will, at West Lafayette. How difficult is it to kind of keep that on the back burner, or is it one of those things where it's still in your head and you're like, okay, we're going to work on these things versus maybe a not so great opponent? Or is it completely on the back burner where you're not even thinking about it until Thursday morning?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you got Purdue coming up on a Saturday. I think practice is completely focused on the team ahead, though. You're not really practicing about Purdue or talking about it whatsoever. You're not working on coverages for Braden Smith or how to guard TKR or whatever it is. It's Maryland, and Brad said it in his post game too. I'm worried about Maryland. And he definitely means that too. He just wants to win the next game. He's not going to get too far ahead of himself. But obviously, Purdue's an amazing opponent. I think Mackey Arena is the hardest place to play in the entire nation. And I was there when they were booing Alan Griffin for stepping on someone. So that added to it. But I mean, that's obviously the game circled on the calendar since Big Ten play started. We've had a lot of gimme games with Penn State and Rutgers. Everyone is looking forward to that game. I'm sure everyone's going out to the bar, going to the game, whatever it is, on a Saturday afternoon. So it's hard to say that they're not looking ahead. But I know Brad will be focused on Maryland and only Maryland.
Andrei Stojakovic, I want to talk about him for just a sec, heading into Maryland, especially in a big game versus Purdue. 7 points versus Minnesota at home. Obviously, he kind of tweaked his ankle there at the end. I'm not sure if that's anything serious. Brad said he got a lot of cold water poured on him because of Tommy Ivisic and scoring 1,000 points. Anyways, he also scored 4 points versus Northwestern. He had a really good start to the Iowa game, but then obviously cooled off in the second half there. Didn't really score much. What have you seen from Andrei Stojakovic? And is there anything that you're wanting more from. I also know that he was the recipient of a pretty big Brad Underwood crash out at the beginning of the game for allowing 2 threes to Jalen Crocker Johnson.
Yeah, it's hard to say with Andre. I think he's still struggling to find his exact role on a good team. Everyone knows he played for some bad teams recently, like Cal and Stanford, where he could kind of just shoot at will, be that guy, score 16, 17 points per game, especially last year. So I think he's still trying to find his way. And I feel like the staff is really focused on making him a, defender, rebounder, do these little things, and offense will come. And I think it's just changed a little bit. You saw in the beginning of the season when he was featured in the offense all the time. He had a good game against Texas Tech. And not to say he's still not featured, but I think we've really changed to more running offense through Keaton Wagler, and he's not getting as many touches. So with his limited touches, he needs to find a way to be efficient, get to the rim. He can't make 3-point shots. So I think he can stop doing that and, drive the ball, try to be a facilitator. It seems like he drives with his head down sometimes, which works sometimes, doesn't work sometimes. And he's really good at getting the rim, though. So stick what you're good at, be a good defender, rebounder, and I think, good things will come after.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to see Illinois really harp on before they head into Mackey Arena versus Maryland? I know we obviously harp do what you do best. They're going to offensive rebound. They're going to get to the rim. They're going to play good, solid defense, force teams into a lot of jump shots. But is there anything that you're really, really looking at and saying, hey, I hope Illinois shows this before they head into Mackey?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think just offensively, play a full 40 minutes. I think, even the Minnesota game, sometimes the Northwestern game, we got a little stagnant here and there, which obviously we still scored a lot of points in both games, so it's not a huge issue. But, just a full 40 minutes of offense, get everyone involved. Don't settle for too many 3-point shots in the first half like we did against Minnesota. Obviously, they were playing a zone, but I think just sticking to what we do, play offense for 40 straight minutes. Purdue, I think, has the number one offense in the country, and we have top 3, if not 2. So we're looking at a very good offensive game in West Lafayette, and I just think that we're going to need to bring it offensively. So, show a good performance against Maryland, 40 minutes, great offense, ball movement, good shots, and I think hopefully that will translate over to Purdue.
Yeah, agreed. And less turnovers and a little better shot diet, I think, would be really helpful. Less lulls, you know.
Yeah.
I think Illinois has been prone to some runs where they don't score for about 2 to 3 minutes, and you can't have that when you go into Mackey Arena. You got to play a full 40 minutes, like you said. We'll get to our game predictions in just a sec, but do want to shout out our second sponsor. It is Campus Inc.'s official NIL store. We are very, very proud to team up with the official NIL store over at Campus Inc. Be sure to get all your officially licensed merch, including Luke Altmaier merch, Kylan Boswell merch, Jake Davis and the Ivisic twins, and even some Brad Underwood merch. Be sure to use code Armchair Illini, that is Armchair Illini in all caps, for 15% off your order when you head over to the Illini NIL store over at Campus Inc. And be sure to subscribe to our channel here at Armchair Illini. We're going to be doing more game previews. Myself, Robbie, we got some great guests coming up to the show this week as well. In addition to the football side, Austin Berkland is doing a great job running that part of our show as well. Robbie, what are some of your game predictions for this game versus Maryland, including a score prediction with, for the most part, you've been pretty on point with?
Yeah, I've been on point with my Illinois score. I got Illinois score right last game.
Yeah.
I think I said Minnesota would score 60 points. They ended up scoring 67, so a little bit off there.
Mm-hmm.
I think just in terms of Maryland, obviously we're the way better team. They're not good at all. They are decent at getting the free throw line. They are a decent offensive rebounding team, like I said. And, they've had our number for the past few years. So I think we'll still win. I don't know if we'll win by 20 like Ken Baum suggests, but I'll give us Illinois 84, Maryland 67 prediction, 7th Big Ten win. And we'll see where we're ranked in the AP on Monday, but I'm hoping for a pretty high ranking.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I think Illinois will get a burst. I think being with the first game with the Orange Crush back on campus, I do think that helps a little bit, especially in these kinds of games. So I think Illinois will get this win rather comfortably. I was thinking more about 85, high 60s. I don't want to say 20. I feel like 20 is like a little bit much for a Big Ten win, but also Michigan beat this team by 28. UCLA beat this team, so I'm expecting a win, but it should be around 84-67. I will go 85-68 just to kind of one up you there.
All right.
Um, and we'll see where things go. Robbie, any more thoughts on Maryland before we bid adieu?
No, I think I said most of it. I think keys to the game really just defensive rebound. Don't let them get on the glass. They're not very good at interior defense either. So use our size, get to the rim. I think they're like they haven't won a game when they make less free throws than someone else, and they are 0-8 when their opponent makes more than 18 shots from two, which hopefully we should do on Wednesday night. And I think it's more of the same. A lot of these previews we've been playing, lesser opponents, and we'll get into some, more in-depth previews when we play a little bit better opponents, and maybe we're not favored by 20 points. But I think with the students back, State Farm Center should be popping, and hopefully there's a lot of orange there on Wednesday night, and I'm looking forward to another win.
Yep, I agree. And with this win, if Illinois is to get this win, I don't want to speak ahead because we do know Maryland has had Illinois' number in the last 15 matchups. But Illinois would move to 16-3 on the season, which is actually very, very good. 7-1 in the Big Ten as well. And I feel like
And
Brad,
history will be made too. I forgot to mention
what was that?
longest win streak in Brad Underwood history, I believe, if we win on Wednesday night. So
Okay. Okay. No Sage, by the way, Kylan
you don't want to
Boswell.
miss it.
And I think Brad Underwood has done a really good job of just setting the standard. Like these are regular records for Illinois. It's not like this is new territory. Like Illinois has had this similar kind of record heading into the stretch of their Big Ten play for most of the past 5-6 years, and that's huge kudos to Brad Underwood for making Illinois a consistent winner in the Big Ten. And I think that goes underappreciated, with how competitive that we've been. Obviously, we've had the Duke game. We got destroyed in Wisconsin last year. We've had some moments, but for the most part, we've been competitive in pretty much every single Big Ten game. And I think that's kudos to Brad Underwood and his staff for doing what they do. Robbie, thanks for coming on. Make sure to check out Robbie's content both here on Armchair Illini, armchairillini.com, and the Armchair Illini YouTube page. And also with the Champagne Room, I know Robbie has a Discord. We'll put that link in the description. We have his newsletter coming out tomorrow on Substack, and he will be doing a pregame space, I believe. Is that correct?
I haven't decided if I'm doing one for Maryland yet. Definitely doing one for Purdue, but I'll definitely let you guys know. You'll see some tweets and everything if I do end up setting one up for Maryland.
Sounds good. Be sure to check the links in our description for all of Robbie's work and for all of our work at Armchair Illini and armchairillini.com. Be sure to subscribe. We're almost at 600 subs. We really appreciate all of our listeners. Illini fans, have a great day, and we will talk to you after the Maryland game for more game previews. So see you guys soon. ILL.